In my previous life, I married the boyfriend that my best friend didn't want. By a strange turn of events, we became quite famous couple fitness bloggers. While my best friend got out of shape and was ridiculed as being fat, plain, and frumpy. I got a second chance. This time, my best friend beat me to it and walked into the marriage hall with him first. "Ava, I'm just taking back what originally belonged to me," she said. Looking at her in her wedding dress, I had no choice but to silently bless her in my heart. I blessed her to rest in peace in the so-called tomb of marriage. I was reincarnated. I was reborn 10 years ago when I had just met Jason. Jason was the boyfriend that Anne introduced to me, and Anne was the only friend I had ever had since childhood. She was my best friend. Although there was only one letter difference in our names, our family backgrounds were poles apart. Her family was a petty bourgeois family and her parents were affectionate with each other. In my family, my father was a domestic abuser and my mother was a gambling addict. Having such parents was even worse than having no parents at all. Precisely because of my family situation since childhood, no one in school wanted to play with me. Except for Anne. I always thought that she was a ray of light that saved my childhood. Only later did I realize that she just lacked a toy that was pleasing to her eyes. When we were at school, I did her homework for her and got meals for her. Even during exams, every time I wrote her name on my test papers. In school, her grades were getting better and better while mine were getting worse and worse. When her family was cheering and celebrating her good grades, my father beat me half to death with his belt. For not studying hard. For not studying hard. With such poor exam results, I ask you, do you still have the nerve to go to school? Since you're such a good for nothing, don't go to school anymore. Go to work instead. Just like that, I dropped out of school in the second year of high school because of family reasons. Anne's good grades also ended in that year of high school. I thought that my relationship with Anne would end right there. Unexpectedly, she took the initiative to contact me. At that time, I thought that she really regarded me as her best friend. But with this second chance, I realized that she was simply using me as a sucker. When I worked in a supermarket, she would bring a group of people to shoplift in the supermarket. "Ava, you'll pay for me, right?" When I worked as a waiter in a restaurant, she always entertained guests in my restaurant. "Can you put it on Ava's bill? We're best friends." I was constantly oppressed by her. Because of the Stockholm Syndrome, I was even grateful for her kindness to me. After all, she was the only one in my life who didn't openly speak ill of me. Anne was pretty, and her family was wealthy. So she had been like a little princess since she was a child. She was truly a rich, beautiful girl. I was just average looking and didn't know how to dress up. So usually people said that she was a swan while I was an ugly duckling. There were many people chasing after her. Each time Anne would choose the richest and most handsome one among them to date. For those who chased her too closely, she would introduce them to me in the name of introducing boyfriends. That's how I met Jason. Now back to the present. I looked at the two people lying naked on the bed. For a moment I didn't know where to look. "What are you two doing?" I asked. And on the bed smiled and said, "Just pursuing love." "Ava, you won't object to us being together, will you? Anyway, he was the one I introduced to you. I gave you what I didn't want, and now I want to take it back. Isn't that reasonable?" Hearing what she said, I immediately realized that Anne might also have been reincarnated. Otherwise, based on her previous taste, she couldn't possibly have taken a liking to a loser like Jason. He had no money, no vision, and just talked big all the time. Before I could say anything, I saw Jason looking at me with a satisfied look on his face. Jason was also a jerk. Hearing Anne say those things about him, he instead thought that he was quite charming. He even thought that this was a plot where two best friends were competing for a boyfriend. He couldn't wait to tell me, "Actually, Ava, I don't like you. I only like Anne. If it weren't for your good relationship with Anne, I wouldn't have been with you at all. I was with you just to get closer to Anne." I knew that when facing such a despicable couple, the last thing I should do was to communicate with them using normal human thinking. I listened to their words and then nodded slightly. "Okay, I understand what you mean. But can we still be good friends? I can't live without you. You're my only friend. Saying this doesn't mean that I'm a masochist, always rushing to let them bully me or something. On the one hand, I plan to watch the drama from a first-person perspective. On the other hand, this time around, Anna hadn't hurt me too deeply yet. I really couldn't bear to see any female compatriot fall into the hands of Jason. Unexpectedly, Anna thought that I had nothing else on my mind and that my whole heart was filled with her. So Anna directly said to me, "Join us? Fine, then go and get us 2 gym membership cards. How about we go to the gym together then? I mean, me and my boyfriend Jason." Jason, that pauper, spent my money when he was with me. But now he started acting like a big shot. I knew that he just wanted to show off in front of Anna. It didn't matter to me. I directly took his card. Since he said so, I surely had to follow his words. Actually, when I went to the gym, I suddenly realized a problem. It turned out that Anna was also someone who had traveled back in time. Otherwise, she wouldn't have chosen Jason unless she had been hit on the head by a car or something. But the key point was that heaven had given her a chance to start over. And yet she used this chance to be with Jason? I sneered coldly. Could it be that she was jealous of me in the previous life? She was really naive. Taking Jason's card, I came to the gym. There was no money in Jason's card, but there was a credit limit. Seeing me, the guy at the front desk raised his eyebrows at me. "Oh, you didn't come out with that good-for-nothing boyfriend of yours today?" He was Hugh, my gym coach in the previous life. In the previous life, thanks to his help, I was able to build the best muscles in the shortest time when working out. It could be said that without him, I probably wouldn't have become a fitness blogger. So in this life, I also had a pretty good relationship with him. After all, he was the one who helped pull me out of the mire at that time. And at this moment, when we were chatting and complaining like friends, our expressions were surprisingly consistent when it came to Jason. And there was a reason why we said Jason was a good-for-nothing. The first time Hugh and I met was on the street. At that time, he came over to promote to us. "Hello, would you like to know about swimming and fitness?" At that time, Jason looked down on this guy a lot, since he himself didn't earn money. He thought that those people who relied on their own abilities, especially those who solicited business on the street, were really disgusting. Actually, I didn't know why he thought they were disgusting. Maybe it was just because their muscles touched his fragile and inferior mind? So Jason directly threw all of his flyers on the ground. Unexpectedly, there were quite a few people watching the fun around at that time. The flyers that were thrown out accidentally flew onto other people. Among these people, there were a few who clearly looked wealthy. Being stared at by such people, Jason naturally didn't dare to say anything else. He rushed over directly. "I'm really sorry. It's all my fault." A guy wearing a thick gold chain walked over and slapped Jason. "I'll teach you to put on airs again. I've been listening here for a long time. People are working and trying to make money. Why are you bullying them? Hurry up and apologize to them." Hugh watched silently and said, "What a good-for-nothing." I definitely heard it. But at that time, I hadn't traveled back yet and I just said faintly, "I apologize to you on behalf of my good-for-nothing boyfriend. Because of that incident back then." That's why Hugh said these words to me now. After hearing his joke, I sighed and said faintly, "If you're talking about Jason, I need to correct you. That good-for-nothing isn't my boyfriend anymore." Now I'm really ashamed that I once had such a good-for-nothing boyfriend. Hugh smiled when he heard my words. "Back then, I thought you liked that kind of guy. Now it seems that I was overthinking it." I knew that he was also doing it for my good. So I smiled back and nodded without saying anything. "What are you here for today? Also because of this matter?" I explained, "No, it's for something else. I want to apply for 2 annual membership cards." He frowned. "If you're asking me to handle it to boost my performance, there's no need to do such a thing, right? Do you know how much 2 annual membership cards cost? Besides, you're applying for 2. For whom?" I told him about the 2 of them. Hugh was a bit confused. "What? You 2? No, you 3. He hadn't seen such a melodramatic thing before. You mean, your best friend, your so-called good friend snatched your boyfriend? And you forgave them? What's your best friend like? I found a photo of her and showed it to him. Hugh was even more dumbfounded. No, what kind of boyfriend can't this woman find? Why did she choose your useless boyfriend? The most important thing is that you haven't even cut off ties with them and are even helping them out? Ava, have you been brainwashed? Some things are not so easy to explain. The people who taught me how to love and those who knew how to love and be loved were among these three people. It's really not because I'm stupid or something. There are too many things involved. I can't tell you all of them in a short while. After hearing my words, Hugh looked at me with a bit of heartache. All right, anyway, it's not your money. I'll just swipe it for you. This guy's credit card has a credit limit of 15,000 yuan. The annual membership card is 5,000 yuan each. I swiped 10,000 yuan out. I didn't care about these things. Although I said with my mouth that I forgave them, whether I really forgave them in my heart was another matter that needed further discussion. In the previous life, when I was with Jason, because he was the kind of person who had high aspirations but little talent, he wouldn't bother to do a lot of things, let alone going to work. When he went to work before, because the boss gave him a low salary, he simply quit his job. He wouldn't even take a job with a monthly salary of 3,000 yuan. So what else could he do? Without a job, of course, he didn't have any money. But the key was that this guy really liked to show off. Every day he would take people out to play, pretending to be a big shot and booking a whole table by himself. But every time his credit card was maxed out, he would always ask me to pay off his debts. Of course. At first, he would beg me to lend him money. Later, it became asking me for money. In the end, it directly turned into robbing or stealing money from me. Even if I didn't give him money, he would beat me up. After thinking about these things, I had an indescribable feeling in my heart. After all, now that I got a second chance, his girlfriend had become Anne. With her as his girlfriend, what would he do? Would he still be the same as before and use Anne's money? Or would Jason start to change for the better and become a good person? I wasn't sure about this. The only thing I was curious about in my heart was whether Anne would experience the same past as I did. Just thinking that someone as haughty as a princess like her would also go through these things. Actually, I already had a very indescribable feeling in my heart. Was it a sense of satisfaction? No. Was it a feeling of getting revenge? Not really. Soon, Hugh had already sent me the 2 annual membership cards for them. By the way, he gave me one more. This is our anniversary event. Buy 2, get 1 free. I frowned and said directly, don't think I don't know what you mean by this. What buy 2, get 1 free? Aren't you just helping me out so that I also have a chance to work out here? I know that the annual membership card is expensive and that you've worked hard for it. I may not be able to repay you for this kindness in the future. After hearing my words, he smiled and said, I didn't ask you to repay me. You can just come to my personal training classes more often, right? You can think of it as charity from me. Hugh smiled at me like a big lazy bear. Just seeing his appearance like this was enough to make me feel happy. I had never seen anyone show me such a smile before. Nor had I heard of anyone chatting with me with such a state of mind. I knew that from the moment he started treating me like this, and I felt my heart flutter. It already meant that I had fallen in love with him. I was a person who lacked love very much. Otherwise, it wouldn't have been the case that I would take all those boyfriends that Ava didn't want. By saying that I lacked love, I meant that I needed to use love to let them make me know who I was. I needed others' recognition and their affirmation. And Hugh was someone who could give me a lot of affirmation. I took the annual membership cards and handed them to Anne and Jason with a smile. And looked me up and down. Oh, you're back? You'll take care of cleaning up these things, huh? In less than a day. She and Jason had already made a mess of the place. I could clearly see that. They were leaving this for me on purpose. What I said before. Maybe in their ears, it meant that I had become someone they could bully at will. They thought I was still the same me as in the previous life. Little did they know. After I calmly handed them the cards, I did start cleaning up. But what I started packing was my luggage. Ava, where are you going? I smiled and said, although you and I are best friends, since you two are already together now, I can't keep living in this place, right? I should leave you some private space, shouldn't I? After I finished speaking, I continued to explain to them. I've almost arranged everything in this place. As for the rent, I paid 1 month's deposit and 1 month's rent in advance. There's still half a month until it expires. You'll have to handle the rent and other things by yourselves from now on. I won't care about it anymore. Actually, I was the one who paid the rent. Jason and I had lived here for such a long time. He didn't even know what the landlord looked like. Only I bothered with these things day in and day out. After hearing my words, the two of them looked at each other. Honey, you'll take care of the rent then, okay? No problem. I took my luggage and spent a night at the subway station. The next day during the day, I started looking for an apartment all over the city. Finally, I found a 1-bedroom, 1-living-room apartment. Although it was small, it had all the basic facilities. Looking at this small home, I said with emotion. From now on, I was going to start looking for my own brand new life. On Saturday, I went to the gym on time. Unexpectedly, I saw Anne there. Her face already looked more haggard than when I first met her. I could understand this. Jason didn't go to bed at night and liked to order takeout. And he didn't go out for a walk all day long. With a person like him, under his lifestyle, an ordinary person would get a tired and haggard look from staying up late in less than 3 days. Although Anne was naturally beautiful, she couldn't stand such abuse either. Just like that, in just a few short days, my beautiful best friend had become someone who looked like a frumpy old woman. The most important thing was that she was also the kind of person who easily got a swollen face. Precisely because of this reason, there was a lot of salt in the takeout food. It made Anne's face swollen in no time. And in these 2 days, because I had just found an apartment, so let alone having a proper meal, I didn't even have time to eat. My face also looked much thinner. As soon as I arrived at the gym, I happened to make eye contact with Anne. She was doing a live stream at that time. Didn't expect that there are people who do live streams in the gym now? The key is, look at this person. With such a big face and still wearing full makeup. People who come to the gym with full makeup are a bit strange, right? She must be using a beauty camera, right? Who knows how ugly she really is? It's really pitiful for the people in the gym. They have to deal with these things all day long. These internet celebrities who are like monsters are really disgusting. The things that this group of people started to say were getting more and more unpleasant. I actually felt a bit sorry for Anne. Because I knew what kind of person she really was. After all, when it came to mobile phones, people always look uglier on camera. And things like body shape would also change. This led to the fact that no one could see the real Anne through the phone. She stared at me. Ava, you planned all this, didn't you? You already knew that I would experience these things, didn't you? She was completely slandering me. I narrowed my eyes and said calmly, when you were experiencing these things, didn't you ever think about whether I had also experienced them? When I was talking to Ava, everyone in the live stream also saw me. Isn't this the person who was a food vlogger before? A food vlogger coming to the gym? It sounds like she's definitely not the kind of person who makes herself vomit on purpose. Great, I like it. It seems that food vloggers also have to come to the gym to keep in shape. A group of people started talking about my new account in the live stream, and heard it and then turned around to stare at me. What do you mean by your new account? I said quietly, I've created a food vlogger account. And slapped the table hard. I won't allow you to be a food vlogger. You should have been a fitness blogger. You should have. Actually, for me, since I had a second chance, I shouldn't do everything the same as before. But Anne was different. She wanted to get everything that belonged to me. Or rather, she wanted the good life I had in my previous life. Therefore, she wanted us to change everything. But at the same time, she didn't want us to change everything. And suddenly stood up from the ground and grabbed my neck. I won't allow you to do this. I won't allow it. The gym instructors heard the commotion on our side and came over one after another to ask me, "Are you okay? If you need help, you can call me. We'll all help you. If you have any disputes, I can call the police for you." After hearing their voices, I waved my hand. Looking at the woman in front of me who was grabbing my hair and had a fierce look on her face, the resentment I had held in my heart towards her for so many years reached its peak at this moment. Ignoring the people who came to stop the fight around us, I slapped her right across the face. "I know you look down on me. Fine. But there's no need for you to do everything like this, is there?" When Hugh heard the noise on my side, he also rushed over. Seeing that it was me, he frowned and asked, "What's going on?" I just said calmly, "Nothing, honey. This is the best friend I told you about. She just made me angry." Hugh immediately understood what was going on. Just looking at Anne's appearance, she actually wasn't ugly. But to be honest, the saying that a person's appearance reflects their heart is something everyone knows. "You slut. You have a husband?" Hearing me call Hugh honey, Anne completely lost her temper. And now, after hearing this sentence, almost everyone's expressions didn't look good. Hugh even stood out directly. "Although he wasn't really my husband, he was as good as my husband. What you said is really unpleasant. We're all ordinary people. How can there be someone who doesn't allow others to find a partner?" What Hugh said was quite down to earth, and everyone was amused by him. Then he continued, "We can understand that you don't want to get married. You want to become better, don't you? But why don't you want my wife to be with me? Do you mean?" He looked at Anne with a bit of a cheeky look. "Do you like me?" And was immediately disgusted. She rolled her big eyes. Disgusting guy. At this time, all the viewers in her live stream had come out. Honestly, who is this Anne? How can she be so rude? Yeah, she's so aggressive. Why does she still have a best friend? I hate people like her the most. She can't stand to see others doing well. Looking at the people in her live stream who were almost all speaking ill of her, and sneered and said, "Is this your purpose? What purpose? This young lady seems to have a bit of paranoia." Exactly. Don't you think it's strange? Why is she always like this? Why does she like to go crazy so much? The person who will be with her in the future is really lucky. Am I the only one who thinks the beautiful sister talking to her is really pretty? Just like that, I suddenly became popular when and was being criticized by the whole internet. Instantly, the number of people watching my food vlog reached nearly 50,000. At first, my food vlog was about eating instant noodles. The first video on my homepage was a video of me eating instant noodles. Later, because the number of viewers increased, I started to eat more and more kinds of food, all sorts of them. With these people's crazy comments and likes, the money I earned also started to get on the right track as it was in my previous life. 50,000, 100,000, 150,000. My number of fans grew very quickly. Perhaps and didn't even know why I suddenly had so many people liking me. Even I myself didn't know. When I was sitting alone in my room, racking my brains and couldn't figure it out, suddenly, I heard Anne calling me. She completely changed her attitude towards me. Now she was being extremely nice to me. She not only bought all kinds of things for me but also even found a new house for me to live in. If it were me in the previous life, I would definitely think that Anne was a ray of light that saved my life. But in this life, I definitely wouldn't believe her anymore. I listened to her words as if I were listening to a joke. But I didn't show it on my face and still looked so innocent. "Ah? Really? It's so nice of you to help me. Well, you're getting married? Congratulations. Who with? With Jason? Wow, what a surprise. You two are actually getting married like this." Half a year had passed since the big fight between me and Anne. I was indeed with Hugh. And she did follow the same path as I did in my previous life and became a fitness blogger with a lot of haters. Although being famous even with a lot of negative comments is still being famous, you should know that if a fitness blogger is famous in a negative way, they can't make much money. After that quarrel, I and Anne deleted each other's contact information. That I kept it before because I wanted to see what she would do exactly. But after the quarrel, I found that if I kept these things related to her, it would make me feel bad instead. And what I needed was to take good care of my mood. Precisely because of this reason, I finally deleted her contact information and cut off ties with her who had been in my life for such a long time. I originally thought that we would never have anything to do with each other for the rest of our lives. Unexpectedly, she would take the initiative to invite me to her wedding. I agreed. Because of this, Hugh had a big quarrel with me. What's the matter with you? Don't you know that she invited you just to humiliate you? Don't forget what she said about you back then. Ava, don't forget the pain once the wound is healed. Don't make me speechless about you. I knew what he said in my heart. Maybe I'm really stupid. I want to see what tricks she has up her sleeve. Hugh got angry and waved his hand. Do whatever you like then. We used to quarrel often before, but we had never quarreled for more than 2 days. So I didn't take this matter to heart. Soon, the day of Anne's wedding arrived. At the wedding scene, there were her parents and countless relatives and friends. When I got married in my previous life, there wasn't a single person on my side. It was so sad and desolate. In contrast, I did envy Anne. What I envied was her family, not the man beside her. When Jason saw me coming, he smiled and said, "You should give us more betrothal gifts. You're our good friend after all." Good friend? Did he mean the kind of friend who could give them money and keep spending money on them? I stared at him and said quietly, "Pay me back the money you owe me first." After hearing this, Anne walked over with a smile. "Ah, are you jealous that I snatched your husband away? We're all women. There's really no need to be so hostile, right? Don't you even know who you are now? You're a public figure. How can a public figure act like this?" After hearing her words, instead of being forced by her to give money, I had even more reason to turn around and leave. If these are the things you're asking for, then I can understand. Narrow-minded and petty, maybe you'll be like this for the rest of your life. And you say I'm jealous of you? What am I jealous of? I said calmly, am I jealous that you're about to step into the so-called tomb of marriage? Because what I said was too harsh, I was quickly driven away by everyone. On that day, our incident even became a small trending topic. Ava is jealous of her best friend Anne's wedding and cursed loudly at the wedding scene. I knew that this must be because Anne paid someone to buy the trending topic. Otherwise, considering our number of fans, such a trifle wouldn't have made it to the trending list. After they got married, Hugh and I continued with our lives. Anne and Jason were still working out at Hugh's gym. The number of our fans was increasing day by day. In my previous life, the overweight and didn't show up here. But Jason was no different from before. He was domestically violent. Although after marrying Anne, it was like a loser managed to win the heart of a goddess. But precisely because of this, he felt that Anne might abandon him every day. So he directly confiscated Anne's mobile phone, computer, and everything else. On the internet, Anne, who had been in the spotlight, suddenly disappeared, and everyone had no idea what was going on. Many people called me, and Anne's agent was also asking me, "What on earth is going on with you two?" They all asked me. But I actually wanted to ask them why they were asking me. It has nothing to do with me. I don't even know what happened at all. If you have nothing better to do, you can go find her instead of asking me. Could it be that I killed her or something? After hearing my words, I don't know how it happened, but this recording was uploaded online. These people thought that considering the relationship between me and her, it seemed that we might really have a fierce fight. Actually, I knew in my heart that Anne was mostly controlled by Jason. Gradually, more and more people were waiting outside my house. I directly led them and rushed to Anne's place. And Jason's house was still the same small rental house as before. Actually, Anne had earned a lot of money recently, but in the end, it was all stolen by Jason. He liked gambling. And he liked buying things for others even more after winning money from gambling. Of course, in my previous life, he didn't like me, so it was impossible for him to buy things for me. But he liked Anne. It must be because after winning money from gambling, he bought things for Anne like crazy, which made Anne think that he was a good person and be devoted to him ever since. Little did she know that this was just a trick of Jason's. After their relationship seemed to be going well, whenever Jason lost money, he would think it was Anne's fault. It was all because of Anne that he lost money. It was all because he had a wife at home. Otherwise, why would he take the risky path of gambling? I had experienced all of this, so I knew it all too well. I took these tabloid reporters and some internet celebrities and suddenly kicked open Anne's door. When Anne saw us, she immediately became serious. And Jason frowned. Ava, are you crazy? What are you doing? I noticed the bruises on Anne's body and immediately asked, who caused these? And stammered and didn't say a word. She raised her eyes, looking at me and then at Jason. She was beaten into submission. It would be a lie to say that I didn't care about Anne. How could I not care about her? Even if I hated her, I didn't want her to be beaten to death. Now that she had lived through both her previous life and this life, her mind had already become a bit abnormal. When she saw me, her first reaction was, "What's going on? Tell me, Ava. Why on earth is this happening? Why didn't he become a better person after getting married? Ava, what did you do when you were with him in your previous life? Ava, was I deceived by you too? Did you two team up to deceive me, right? Ava? You bullied me. You bullied me. It's because of you that he..." I said calmly, "When you two just started going to the gym, I already told you. I said that Jason didn't have a penny. Even the money for the annual membership cards was paid by swiping his credit card. But you thought that he would become a better person after getting married. Has he become better now that he's married? Do you still think he'll become better after having a child?" After hearing my words, he looked at me seriously. "Ava, what do you mean? Don't act like you know me well." The people beside us asked me, "Ms. Ava, do you mean that this gentleman owes money? He not only owes money but also borrows money for online gambling and is even domestically violent." Jason pointed at my nose. "Ava, don't make baseless accusations." And who had been beaten and was also affected by what I said was already a bit out of her mind. After hearing my words, she smiled and nodded. "Haha, making baseless accusations. Haha, making baseless accusations. Beat me. Beat me. Beat me to death. I want a divorce. I want a divorce. Give me another chance. Let me start over again." Hearing her voice, I already knew in my heart that she had gone crazy. She was beaten silly. I dialed 110 and 120. After they arrived, they took Anne to the hospital first. When we were having the injury assessment done at the hospital, we were shocked to find out that Jason had starved and she hadn't eaten for 2 days. Her stomach was completely empty. Moreover, there were countless old and new wounds on her body. The previous wounds hadn't healed yet, and new ones were added. While in the hospital, she kept repeating 2 words over and over again, previous life and this life. The doctor diagnosed that she was suffering from a very serious delusional disorder. At the same time, the whole internet was condemning Jason. I heard before that Jason was with Ava and then cheated on her with Anne. And I were from the same school. She used to be a bit of a troublemaker and liked to steal other people's boyfriends. Unexpectedly, Ava is so kind. Facing people like them, she didn't even plan to leave them to their own devices. She really is something. She's been so nice to them. I'm so touched. After Jason's trial, I heard that he was sentenced to 6 months in prison for domestic violence. However, for gambling and being unable to pay off his debts, he was sentenced to more than 10 years in prison. It's ridiculous to say that although the domestic violence had already made Anne stupid from the beatings, their explanation was that domestic violence was considered a family dispute and not counted as intentional injury. The internet kept putting pressure on people like them. Suddenly, I heard that Anne had escaped. She escaped from the mental hospital. I went out with everyone to look for her. But not only did we fail to find her, but I also lost contact with Hugh. Hugh had driven out. Logically speaking, he should have met me earlier. Suddenly, I realized that something was wrong. My right eyelid was twitching crazily. Was something bad going to happen? Soon, the hospital called me. "Hello, are you Mr. Hughes' girlfriend?" The moment I heard this sentence, I knew that something terrible had happened. I quickly drove to the hospital. But it was already too late. Hugh was dead. He died along with Anne. It turned out that Anne had escaped from the mental hospital to kill me. She was driving a big truck and waiting at the intersection near our house. When she saw our car, she rushed straight at it. Little did she know that the person in the car wasn't me but Hugh. Looking at the cold body on the hospital bed, for a moment, I didn't know what to say. It took me half a month to record the bits and pieces of the time I spent with Hugh into a microfilm and release it online. This film received a lot of praise. Everyone started another round of discussions on campus violence and domestic violence. My number of fans grew from less than 1 million to 10 million now. But I didn't care about that anymore. Anne was dead. I couldn't even find anyone to hold accountable for Hugh's death. All I could do was play this video in front of his grave. Hugh, when you were alive, you taught me what love was and made me realize that I was also a person worthy of being loved. Unfortunately, good people don't always get rewarded. You, who brought everything to me, died because of that woman. Hugh, I don't know if you can hear me when I say these words now. But I want to tell you, thank you, and I love you. If there's an afterlife, we'll still be together. The end. At a friend's gathering, I became the biggest joke of the day. In front of the cold onlookers, my husband lashed out, just to save the face of his good sister. Could it be that the bond between us as husband and wife is no match for his feelings for his first love, adopted sister? After 5 years of marriage, I had always been on the periphery of my husband's social circle at parties. I never expected that my husband Elias had a sister he'd kept from me. He was willing to risk his life to uphold their sibling bond, without considering me or our child. I'm back. I've missed you all so much after being away for so long. The newcomer was wearing a white dress, with the elegance of a jasmine flower. Behind her was Elias's good friend Asher. From the moment Arya entered the room, my husband Elias's eyes never left her face. Elias had specifically mentioned that he, Asher, and Arya had grown up together. Everyone knew that Arya had a crush on Asher. I'd known Asher for a long time, he was my husband's good buddy. But it was the first time I'd heard of Arya. At the welcome back party for Arya, all of Elias's friends showed up. The bar was small, and it was even more crowded than on my wedding day. 3 years into the marriage, I still hadn't become the center of Elias's social circle. Listening to their conversations, I gradually got to know more about Arya, Asher, and this group of guys were Elias's childhood friends. They had an incredibly close relationship. Arya had liked Asher for years, but Asher had gone through one girlfriend after another, never even noticing Arya. 5 years ago, Arya went abroad to study and became a designer. After she left, the playboy Asher changed completely and stayed away from women. Everyone thought the spot beside Asher was reserved for her. Once Arya returned to the country, Asher would surely choose her. I hoped so too. Stop making a fuss. Move over, can't you be more perceptive? Asher said casually. As expected of Sister Arya. Brother Asher is like a different person instantly. Kian chimed in. He was Elias's subordinate at the company, and after working together for a long time, they'd become friends in private too. Shut up. Nonsense. Asher tapped Kian with his bag. All right, enough of that. I'll introduce someone to you later. Don't scare her. Asher said. After that, the bar gradually quieted down, and everyone looked at each other. After a while, the bar door opened again, and Asher walked in, holding a girl's hand. Let me introduce my girlfriend, Scarlett. Asher put his arm around Scarlett's shoulders, protecting her lovingly. Hello, everyone. Nice to meet you all. Please go easy on me. The girl was wearing a red dress, bold and passionate, and carried herself gracefully. There was a moment of silence in the bar. In the past, Asher had never brought his girlfriends to these gatherings with his buddies. No one dared to ask why he was introducing Scarlett at this very moment. Arya sat there in a daze among the chorus of "Hello, sister-in-law," and her face instantly lost all color. Bang! Elias suddenly went crazy and threw his glass at the wall, his face full of rage. The wine stains on the wall and the broken glass all over the floor were especially glaring under the light. Bastard, are you even human? What about Arya? Elias rushed over and punched Asher hard, his eyes red with anger. It was the first time I'd seen my husband Elias so out of control and impulsive. Elias, what the hell are you doing? Asher scowled, and then the two of them started fighting. Seeing that things were going wrong, everyone quickly tried to stop them. Honey, calm down. Stop it. I stepped forward to stop Elias from going mad, but he didn't hesitate to push me away forcefully. Elias was like a wild beast that had been enraged, and no one could hold him back. My back hit the corner of the coffee table hard, and the pain was excruciating. Enough, Elias. Stop fighting. Arya walked over to persuade them. After hearing her, they stopped but still stood there glaring at each other, the anger in their eyes undiminished. Arya, let's go. Elias got up, grabbed Arya's arm, and stormed out without even looking back at me. He protected Arya's dignity but left me behind, like a joke. The Elias I knew was always rational, calm, and self-possessed. But today, he fought like this for Arya. I couldn't figure out why. After that, Asher also left with Scarlet. With the main characters gone, whispers rose in the crowd. What's going on? Does Asher really not like Arya anymore? Anyway, Elias definitely still likes Arya. Today, Elias was really angry for the sake of a beauty. What about Elias's wife? It's hard to say. The power of first love, you know. They've been married for so many years and don't even have a child yet. One sentence after another, these light words hit me like punches, making the pain in my back even worse. They didn't know that I was already pregnant with Elias's child. The bar farce was just an episode in life. After getting pregnant, my husband Elias doted on me and took great care of me. During those 9 months, I became the center of Elias's world. Neither work nor his parents were as important as me and the baby in my belly. It wasn't until that incident happened that I realized how ridiculous my thoughts had been. In the late stages of pregnancy, the doctor told me to have a prenatal checkup every week. It was inconvenient for me to move around with my big belly, so Elias put off work to accompany me to the checkup and then go shopping. Honey, the baby said he wants to eat pig trotters and barbecue. After the checkup went smoothly, I cooed at Elias. Elias rarely smiled and seldom responded to my coquettishness, but during this period, it was as if he'd suddenly seen the light and learned how to be sweet. Okay, let's go eat pig trotters. Elias pinched my face lovingly. Then, what about the barbecue? I clung to his shirt and looked up at him pitifully. You little glutton. I was waiting for the rest of his answer, but the sudden ringing of the phone interrupted him. So annoying. Who could it be at such an unlucky time? I peeked at the phone from an angle. Elias's face grew darker and darker. He sullenly pushed my hand away, quickly pulled me into the car, and drove off. He was in a terrible mood the whole way, looking anxious and flustered. I didn't ask, and he didn't explain. Soon, we arrived at the entrance of a bar. Elias stormed into the alley next to it. I felt a bit panicked but followed him anyway. In a hidden corner, a girl was screaming despairingly. My steps froze for a moment. I recognized the girl. It was Arya from the bar gathering that day, looking completely out of sorts. Elias, with a mix of panic and anger, rushed in and punched the man in the stomach, then started punching and kicking like a madman to vent his fury. The man in the alley wailed one after another. I felt like something was stuck in my chest, making me feel stuffy and bitter. Why was Arya here, and why today of all days? I was still pregnant and couldn't bear to see such a scene. Elias walked over, took off his coat, and put it on Arya, who was huddled in the corner with despair in her eyes. She stiffly raised her head. Her pale face was streaked with tears, and at this moment, she didn't even have the strength to shed one more. Her lips were bitten raw, with dried blood on her chin. Scattered pills were spilled on the ground beside her feet from a medicine bottle, the pills in all kinds of colors, surely not proper medicine. The once bright jasmine flower had been ruthlessly broken off and discarded in the mud, trampled at will. Elias was still seething with anger. The veins on his neck were bulging, his eyes were red, and with his slightly trembling hands, he carefully wrapped the clothes around her and picked her up. Looking around, he only saw an old man's motorcycle. Elias? Elias snatched the motorcycle and sped away with Arya, so fast that they disappeared in the blink of an eye, nothing like his usual driving style. Elias, I haven't got on the bike yet. Are you going to leave me here? Elias didn't hear my shouts, but the scumbag who had been knocked down was awakened. Seeing him struggling to get up from the ground while clutching his stomach, his cold eyes fixed on me menacingly, like a venomous snake about to strike back after being provoked. I pretended to be calm and walked quickly towards the crowded area, but I already felt a dull pain in my stomach. That man is your husband, right? He left you and ran away with that chick. So funny. You're still pregnant. Doesn't that mean I can do whatever I want? The nerves in my brain were taut, and fear made my heart race. So when the danger approached, I could only freeze on the spot and watch helplessly. Oh my God. What are you guys doing here? A soap opera? The old man whose motorcycle had been snatched grabbed a rolling pin and knocked the scumbag out, saving me. Although there was no disastrous accident as I'd feared, my heart still skipped a few beats. I held my stomach with one hand and leaned on the wall beside me with the other. A cold sweat broke out on my forehead and back. Bang! Just when I thought I could finally relax, a car turned out of the alley and crashed into the wall. Damn it! Are you blind? This is really like a soap opera. The old man from northeast China, who had just walked up to me to check the situation, was caught in the car accident and knocked to the ground. I wasn't in a better situation either. Although I protected my stomach, I was also knocked down. The pain in my stomach was so intense that I couldn't speak, and a warm fluid gushed out of my abdomen. I clung desperately to the old man's trouser leg. Baby, the hospital. I tried my best to call for help. In the blink of an eye, the accident scene was surrounded by passers-by. Some were taking pictures, some were talking, but no one stepped forward to help. Elias? Where was Elias now? If he knew my situation, would he rush to save me? I didn't dare to think further. Hey, girl. Come quick. This girl's water has broken. Before I passed out, I only heard the shout with a strong northeast accent. I thought that man wouldn't come. Help. That scumbag was still staring at me in the crowd. My husband Elias left me, a pregnant woman, and sped away to save his good sister Arya. That's all I could remember when I woke up. The baby was born prematurely and the vital signs are dropping. Emergency treatment is needed. Where are the family members? Is there anyone to sign? The nurse couldn't find the family members, so she had to wake me up. Her words stabbed at my heart like sharp knives. After signing, I wanted to get out of bed to see the baby. The nurse quickly reached out to stop me and said, "You can't get out of bed right after giving birth. Where's the baby's father? Or ask other family members to go." Where was Elias? Where had he gone? Didn't he know I was giving birth in the hospital? The image of Elias leaving with Arya in his arms instantly flashed through my mind, along with the bitterness of being left alone to face the danger. The baby's father is dead. There are no other family members. I clenched my fists tightly, my nails digging into my flesh. It hurt, but it was nothing compared to the pain in my heart. Elias should be in the gentle embrace of his first love, playing the role of a white knight. His dream has come true. I forced myself through the pain and walked to the incubator. Through the glass, I saw my baby's tiny body full of tubes, and the skin was bright red. My heart felt like it was being clenched tightly by a big hand, suffocating with pain. My baby was supposed to be born healthy. We were supposed to have a healthy family. The next day, I woke up early, ready to go see the baby again. The nurse told me that the baby's condition was stable, which was the only lucky thing in this misfortune. Squeak, the door of the ward was pushed open, and the person was coming towards me. "You haven't eaten yet. I bought you some breakfast." I thought Elias had finally arrived at the hospital, and my anger flared up. "Where have you been? You might as well not come. Just stay with your Arya sister." "Sister, it's me, Kian. I then realized I'd mistaken him and quickly apologized. Kian also started to apologize, making the scene rather comical. Where's Elias? Where has Elias gone? I asked Kian. Since he was Elias's subordinate, he should know about these things. Since yesterday, Elias hasn't replied to anyone. He even pushed his work to me. I learned from the old master that you were giving birth, so I came to look for Elias. I asked rather unreasonably. The old master has a lot of connections. He knew you were in labor at the hospital right away. Everyone who could contact Elias has tried, but no one succeeded. Kian answered rather embarrassedly. Kian didn't know where Elias was either? Does Elias know I'm giving birth in the hospital? Didn't anyone tell him? It was obvious that Elias's father had put a lot of pressure on him about this. Until yesterday, I thought Elias was the most reliable man in the world. Elias and I were university classmates. We dated for 3 years and had been married for 2 years. My family was ordinary, while Elias's family ran a medium-sized local company. When Elias brought me home, his father was a bit picky about me. It was only after Elias's repeated support that he finally agreed. After marriage, Elias was promoted to manager and took over the family company. He always considered my opinions on big and small matters at home. Everything, every aspect, there was nothing Elias couldn't handle. Everything was so happy and perfect, like a story from a novel. It wasn't until I saw Arya at that party that I suddenly realized that I seemed to be living in a beautiful dream I'd woven myself. When Arya came back, my dream woke up. While I was reminiscing, a figure walked past my ward. It was my husband Elias, and he was discussing the treatment plan for severe depression with the doctor. Depression? Probably Arya got depression after being murdered. Doesn't he even know that I'm in this hospital, lying in the ward he just passed by? It seems that he really didn't see me. Seeing this, Kian quickly ran out of the ward to chase after that figure. After a while, Elias pushed the door open and entered. There was a bit of guilt in his eyes when he looked at me. What are you coming back for? To pick me up and discharge me? I blurted out sarcastically. Elias froze for a moment, then quickly walked up to me. His 2 hands clamped my shoulders like iron pincers. Through the hospital gown, I could feel his big hands trembling slightly. I've known Elias for more than 5 years. In my memory, he always stood straight as a pine, held his chin high arrogantly, so cold that no one dared to get close to him. It was rare to see him so vulnerable. I'm sorry, Irene. I know this time it was my negligence. I'm sorry to you and the baby. But you know, we grew up together. She's very important to me. I really couldn't just leave her to die at that time. And I was the only one with her when she was admitted to the hospital. I promise to put you and the baby first from now on. Elias' eyes were red as he apologized to me with a guilty face and made a promise. You said the same thing last time, remember? Yesterday, you left me there alone. Have you ever thought about whether that hooligan would take revenge on me? Where were you when I was hit by the car yesterday? Where were you when the baby was in critical condition in the middle of the night? Where were you when I was bearing all this alone? I couldn't help but question him aggrievedly. As long as Arya was there, he could only see Arya. He didn't care about my life or death at all. Clearly, he once told me that he would definitely protect me well. Irene, I'm sorry. I've made you feel wronged. But this matter concerns her reputation. You know, we grew up together. I can't just ignore it. What can I do to make you forgive me? Please trust me one more time. Elias looked at my weak and aggrieved appearance, hugged me into his arms lovingly, and said gently, What am I to you? A comfort during the single period? A pastime when you're bored? Or just a suitable marriage partner? I clearly felt Elias stiffen for a moment after I said that. Since he had someone he couldn't let go of in his heart and still married me, what was our relationship? How could that be? You're my lover, the one I love, the one I want to spend my whole life with. Elias answered firmly. I didn't respond. Weakness and exhaustion filled my whole body instantly. Yes, he had held me in his arms and confessed affectionately more than once. But why did he keep running towards others with his back to me? I deeply sympathize with Arya's experience, but my child and I shouldn't have suffered misfortunes because of this. Elias, I don't want to separate. I don't want to give up this family. I buried my head in his arms, sobbing. I thought I was strong, but at this moment, I was so spineless that I burst into tears. No, I'll never abandon you. Didn't we promise to spend the rest of our lives together? Be good, don't cry. Elias hugged me tighter. I pulled myself out of his arms, took the initiative to hold his hand and went back to the ward, then took out the agreement I had drafted yesterday. The big words, divorce agreement, were clearly written on it. There was a clear and reasonable property division in it. Since Arya came back, I had a hunch that our divorce was inevitable sooner or later. So while he still felt guilty, I had to strive for certain guarantees for my child and me. Irene, you don't trust me. Elias murmured as if he had lost his soul. Elias, I really wanted to build this family with you. But you've let me down too many times. Sign the agreement. Let's part on good terms. I'm really tired. I said to Elias. If Arya needs you now, will you still stay here? Seeing that he still wanted to say something, I asked immediately. Even if I was slow, I could still feel that Arya was special to Elias. From the beginning to the end, the person he loved was Arya, but he couldn't have her. If Arya needed it, he could guard her forever. But clearly, he once swore to me that he would protect me for a lifetime without letting me suffer any grievance. A mobile phone rang. Elias stared at the name lit up on the phone screen without moving, and his hand holding the phone tightened continuously. Sign it. It's for the best for everyone. I thought I already had his answer. After a long stalemate, Elias finally signed and left. Because Elias' mother has a heart disease and had an attack not long ago, and she had always been kind to me. So we reached an agreement not to tell the elders for now and wait until I was out of the confinement period to confess everything. I was quite satisfied with this result. What I needed were practical actions and his choices in reality, not pale explanations. After the baby's condition stabilized, my parents and Elias' mother came to the hospital to take care of us. But Elias hadn't shown up for several days. What could be more important than you and the baby? This child is really something. Elias' mother complained. My parents also looked unhappy but didn't say anything explicitly, just asking me to call him back. Now that things were in such a mess, there was no need to let the elders worry for nothing, so I didn't say much, only saying that Elias was too busy with work. Fortunately, Elias came back soon, and we tacitly pretended that nothing had happened. But Elias' father was not so easy to fool. He admonished us and required Elias to take care of me until the baby was 1 month old. After a month of comfortable days, I also returned home from the confinement center. Despite causing dissatisfaction among both parents, during this period, Elias was extremely meticulous in taking care of me and the baby. If it weren't for him staring at his phone in a daze from time to time and making secret phone calls on the balcony at midnight, I would almost have thought that everything was peaceful. Of course, the most important thing was that Asher had been staying in the hospital with Arya. After that incident, Arya got mild depression and had been recuperating in the hospital. I thought things could come to an end, but I accidentally discovered an interesting thing before being discharged. Miss Scarlett, have a good rest. I'm leaving now. After coming out of Scarlett's ward, I went straight to the park in the hospital. Since I knew Asher was taking care of Arya, I asked a friend in the hospital to keep an eye on them. As expected, Asher and Arya would take a walk in the park every morning. Oh, what a coincidence. Miss Arya looks much better today. But Miss Scarlett doesn't seem to be in a good state. After all, she was frightened. Mr. Asher, you should spend more time with her. I'm leaving now. I greeted them as I walked towards them. After seeing Asher's puzzled look, I turned around and left contentedly. Miss Irene, wait. Asher frowned and quickly took 2 steps to catch up with me. Miss Irene, what do you mean by that? What does it have to do with Scarlett? What do you mean by frightened? Asher said coldly to me. Doesn't Mr. Asher know the situation of his own girlfriend? Do I, an outsider, still need to explain? I pretended to be puzzled and looked at him. What the hell? You scummy jerk. Of course, I won't tell him about Scarlett. Only the things he finds out by himself will make him believe without a doubt. And I'll just keep my contributions hidden and leave with a flick of my sleeve. Sure enough, within 3 days, Elias started acting strange. A few days ago, I accidentally ran into Scarlett in the hospital. She was still in her hospital gown. My intuition told me that this was definitely not ordinary. Scarlett, what happened to you? I went up to greet her. She took me to her ward and told me about her encounter without any hesitation, and also invited me to watch a good show. So I witnessed a farce in the coffee shop with my own eyes. Arya, still in a white dress, sat down gracefully across from Scarlett. The usually gentle woman now arrogantly lifted her chin and provocatively showed the marks of an affair on her neck. Miss Arya, just say what you want to say. Scarlett looked at the hypocritical woman across from her with disdain, stressing the word miss. As you can see, Asher and I are childhood sweethearts. He has me in his heart. You're just a substitute he used to relieve his loneliness. Arya said. Huh, does your Asher know how dirty you are? Scarlett sneered. I don't know what you're talking about. The previously smug Arya froze instantly. Here's 2 million. If you don't want Asher to know about your dirty deeds, take the money and disappear completely. Scarlett pushed the card slowly towards Arya's side of the table. Huh, is this all you rich people can do? Arya picked up the card with 2 fingers, examined it, and scoffed. Then she quickly splashed the hot coffee at the other side. Ah? Scarlett reacted quickly. Only her clothes got splashed, but she was still startled. Crazy. Scarlett picked up her cup to fight back, but a big hand stopped her before she could splash it out. Miss Scarlett, instead of biting people like a mad dog everywhere, you'd better keep your own man in line. Elias snatched the cup from Scarlett's hand and said coldly. Then Elias left with Arya, protecting her in his arms with his broad shoulders. Watching their leaving backs, although I felt bad, I also breathed a sigh of relief. I looked at the empty seat after Elias left and didn't stay any longer. I walked to the bathroom and put my coat on Scarlett's shoulders. We reached an agreement. Our aim was to punish the scumbag and the bitch. Irene, I have an emergency. I'm going out. I'll be back soon, very soon. Wait for me. Elias stood at the door looking at me. He didn't know that his constantly rubbing index finger and thumb had already betrayed him. He would do this subconsciously whenever he felt guilty. Okay, honey. The baby and I will wait for you at home. Baby, say goodbye to daddy. I pretended to know nothing and played the role of a virtuous wife waiting for her husband to come home. I was gambling, betting on whether he would choose to stay for the sake of our 5-year relationship and our child. Elias gave us a complicated look and finally, as if he had made up his mind, left without looking back. The moment he closed the door, I took off the mask and sat bitterly on the sofa. They used to be so sweet, but unfortunately, under the impact of first love, that relationship seemed so fragile. Since you asked me to wait, then I'll wait. I'll wait for you to come home and give me and the child an explanation. I looked at the little baby in the cradle, waving its little hands and babbling. It was the last support for my almost collapsed heart. Day broke. The baby slept, woke up, and then slept again. I sat on the sofa, looking at the door that hadn't been opened since last night. When the sunlight from the window stabbed my eyes, a part of my heart completely collapsed. I still didn't wait for Elias in the end, but I got a call from the police station instead. Scarlett sued Rascal and Arya for attempted rape and instigating rape in court. And Arya, in order to make sure Rascal could never turn things around, accused Rascal of multiple rapes. As an eyewitness at that time, I was called to make a statement. When I arrived at the police station, I saw Elias and Asher first. I walked past Elias, greeted Asher, and then went with the police to make a statement. I reported what I had seen and heard truthfully. After all, it was better for that scumbag to go to jail. When I came out, the two were waiting at the door. I got annoyed when I saw Elias looking all guilty again. So I said straightforwardly, no need to say anything. I know everything. And no need to apologize. Let's go to the Civil Affairs Bureau to get the divorce certificate as soon as possible. So you all knew about it already. I'm the only one who's been kept in the dark like a fool. There was disappointment and anger in Asher's eyes while I calmly watched Elias going hysterical. After Asher went back that day, he thoroughly investigated the whole thing. It turned out that the evildoer was Arya's adoptive father, Rascal, a brute who only knew how to eat, drink, whore, and gamble. He had raped Arya 10 years ago when she was recognized by a wealthy family. You bitch. How dare you send your old man to jail? I'll teach you a good lesson. The first thing Rascal did after getting out of prison was to find out where Arya was. He wanted to torture this slut who had sent him to jail. Wait, please let me go. I can give you a lot of money. When Arya saw this devil again, the familiar fear swept over her. Her whole body tensed up, but she still couldn't stop her muscles from trembling. Bah, slut. Rascal didn't waste any more words and directly tore her clothes and pounced on her. Arya's hands were gripping the cold floor tightly, and there was only hatred left in her eyes. What had she done wrong? Why did fate treat her like this? Why was Scarlett so lucky, having a happy family, Asher's love, and a clean reputation? But she had to endure the violation of a scumbag like Rascal, and she could never get the man she liked. Why? Why could she get the things I longed for so easily? Her jealousy and unwillingness reached the peak at that moment. Scarlett thought she was dirty? Then let her taste being trampled on too. She wanted Scarlett to go to hell with her. Blame it on the fact that the person Asher liked was you. Arya thought darkly, with a distorted smile on her face. After that, Rascal directly dragged Arya to the master bedroom and lay on the bed with her, tightly gripping her wrists. You'd better not play any tricks. Rascal seemed tired. After giving a vicious threat, he closed his eyes. The next day, Arya didn't call the police directly. Instead, she made a deal with Rascal. Arya offered 200,000 yuan and asked Rascal to rape a beautiful woman. At first, Rascal was a bit hesitant. Anyway, this whore would have to give him money whether he did it or not. But when Arya showed Rascal a photo of Scarlett, he was instantly horny and without hesitation decided on his first target after getting out of prison. But unfortunately, what Arya and her father didn't know was that the place they chose happened to be next to the bar owned by Scarlett's brother. Don't come over. What do you want? I have money, a lot of money. As long as you let me go, I'll give you whatever amount you want. Scarlett secretly dialed the phone with one hand while holding a stick she picked up in a panic and shouting at Rascal. Scarlett's first reaction was to call Asher. The rapid ringing of the phone irritated Rascal's nerves. Humph, you think you can scare me, bitch? Rascal disdainfully grabbed the stick. If Arya hadn't told him in advance that this woman was a penniless freeloader, he might have believed her. Brother, help me. Shigang Ali. Seeing that the situation was about to get out of hand, Scarlett quickly called her brother. The moment the call was connected, Scarlett shouted into the phone, her voice full of sobs and tremors. Nash arrived in time, so Rascal didn't succeed completely. But Scarlett was just a young girl, and she was badly frightened. Scarlett was in a bad state, so Nash strongly ordered her to rest well in the hospital. As a die-hard sistercon, Nash certainly wouldn't let it go. He would make those who bullied his sister pay the price. Rascal was a coward who bullied the weak. After a severe beating, he confessed everything without waiting for Nash to threaten or coax him. According to Nash's request, Rascal lured Arya, half threatening and half coaxing, to the alley where Scarlett was supposed to be ruined. Before Arya arrived, Nash deliberately gave Rascal something to boost his strength. The moment Arya arrived and didn't see Scarlett, she vaguely knew the result. She knew she couldn't escape. But Arya didn't want Asher to get in touch with Rascal. With his methods, he would find out all her past secrets. So Elias, who was from the same village as her and knew about her misfortunes, was the best choice. But Arya never expected that before Nash could deal with him, Rascal actually found out where Asher was, had the nerve to go there and threaten him, and even asked him to defend him. Asher sent the man back to jail again. There was no way to keep it a secret anymore, so Arya revealed her bloody scars to Asher herself. But she didn't mention anything about Scarlet. But it didn't take long before Scarlet sued the two of them in court. Arya has suffered so much. Please let her go, Asher. I've never asked you for anything in all these years. Just this once, please, for the sake of our long friendship, help Arya one more time. Elias' face was twisted in pain, but he still used up all his favors to beg Asher, hoping he would go easy on her. If Asher turned a blind eye to this matter for Scarlet's sake, or even added fuel to the fire, and with Nash's intervention, one could imagine what would happen to Arya. I'll take her far away. She won't show up in front of you and Scarlet again, Elias said firmly. Looking at Elias' affectionate look, I couldn't help but clap for his deep feelings, and also felt that it wasn't worth it for myself. Get out. Elias, seeing Asher's relenting expression, knew that Arya wouldn't be in big trouble, but their friendship couldn't make Asher give in any further. Rascal, who had repeatedly raped and refused to reform, was sentenced to 13 years in prison. Asher provided Arya with the best lawyer, but Nash wasn't easy to deal with either. He wouldn't let his sister be wronged for nothing. In the end, Arya was still sentenced to 1.5 years. Before leaving, Asher went to see Arya. Do you regret it? Asher looked at the woman on the other side of the visiting room disappointedly. Asher, do you know? When Rascal was violating me, I was thinking, I'm so dirty, I don't deserve you. But how could you like someone else? How could you like Scarlet? Why? Why is she so clean? I just wanted to know, if she got dirty, would you still like her? Arya held the phone, getting more and more excited. She stood up and almost roared into the phone like a madwoman. We can be friends, we can be family, but we can never be lovers. I will never like you, even if nothing had happened, even if it has nothing to do with others. Do not do to others what you do not want others to do to you. I like Scarlet just because she is Scarlet, nothing else. I hope you can figure it out in this 1.5 years. Asher said to Arya, disappointed and powerless. Then why haven't you dated anyone since I left 5 years ago? Why? Arya slumped into the chair, still gripping the phone tightly with both hands, staring at Asher's eyes desperately, with a glimmer of hope in her despair, trying to catch something from his eyes. Asher opened his mouth in a daze but couldn't say anything in the end. He put down the phone and got up to leave. Asher, come back. After Asher left, Arya smashed the glass desperately and roared at him. Asher's steps paused, a look of struggle flashed in his eyes, and finally, he didn't look back. Elias and I went home in silence. It wasn't that we had nothing to say to each other. It was that he knew I didn't want to talk to him at all right now. When we got home, he seemed to have made a decision. Irene, trust me. This is the last time. I'll settle her down and never care about her again. Let's live our own little life, okay? Elias said to me, a bit humbly but firmly. Let's get a divorce. I forced a hideous smile and said this again. Can we not get divorced? Please. We can't get divorced. The child is still so young, Irene. Elias panicked and tried to hug me, but I didn't let him. I don't care anymore. Can I let someone else take care of it? Let's not get divorced, okay? Elias said compromising words, but his face was full of painful struggle. I was determined to divorce, but Elias refused. I took the child back to my parents' home. Elias came to the door every day, only to be driven away by my dad every time. I found a time to have a proper talk with Elias. He knew clearly that there was no turning back, yet he still tried to hold on reluctantly. Eventually, a cold divorce agreement completely severed all our ties. Elias left the marriage with nothing. I sold all the real estate I had and moved to another city. But over the years, Elias's mother had always been very kind to me and even supported Elias leaving the marriage with nothing. So every time I went back to visit my parents, I would take the child to see her. I changed the child's surname to mine. His name is Leo, which was given by my dad, hoping he would grow into a capable and responsible man. His nickname, Leo, was given by Elias's mother because he was as cute and fair as a little lion. Goodbye, Mr. Elias. After leaving the Civil Affairs Bureau, I gave Elias a bright smile, just like the first time we met. Only that time, I said, "Hello, classmate Elias." I turned around, leaving the past behind me, and I would face the sun to pursue my new life and freedom. After leaving the marriage with nothing, Elias went back to the village, the hometown of him and Arya. It was said that he took good care of the house every day and was waiting for Arya to come home. Before the divorce, Kian came to see me. He told me that Arya was a ray of light in Elias's youth, being extremely gentle to him during his darkest days. That was also the reason for Elias's all-or-nothing bet. But even so, Elias still had no right to hurt anyone with this reason. Even so, who knew that Elias had once been the light for Irene too? But now that things had come to this, none of that mattered anymore. To my surprise, after the divorce, Kian often came to my home to visit the child and took care of us in every way. Gradually, I could tell that he liked me. But he never had the courage to take that step. 1.5 years later, at the prison gate, Arya was carrying a simple backpack, still wearing the clothes she had on the day she entered prison. Looking up at the blinding sun, Arya was a bit dazed. "Arya, I'm here to take you home." Elias, who was walking over from not far away, smiled and held out his hand to Arya. Arya slowly put her hand in his. Her once delicate fingers had become rough, with scars from the cracks in winter. Seeing her own hands, Arya panicked and tried to pull back. But Elias didn't let her. He held her hand tightly and kissed it gently. "They're not ugly." Elias looked at Arya with pity and affection in his eyes. After a while, the two smiled at each other and walked side by side on the road. Just like before, but everything had changed. It was never going to be the same again. 3 years later. When I went to pick up Leo from kindergarten, I met an old acquaintance at the gate. There were more marks of the passage of time on Elias's face. Although he wasn't as high-spirited as before, his back was still straight as a pine. He was carrying a toy in his hand. I followed his gaze and felt a pang in my heart when I saw Leo in class. "Mr. Elias, long time no see. Why are you here?" I pretended to be calm and asked. "Miss Irene, don't worry. I'll just take a look at the child and leave." Elias seemed to sense my vigilance and said to me, looking pale and helpless, "Are you done looking?" I turned around to look at the little guy in the classroom and said coldly to Elias, "I had already moved to another city with Leo. Although I didn't deliberately hide it, I never expected him to find us. Sorry to disturb. Goodbye." Elias said and left consciously. Looking at Elias's somewhat dejected back, I couldn't help but sneer. One reaps what one sows. When I got home, Leo proudly told me that a bad uncle had tried to abduct him. My heart skipped a beat when I heard this. "What happened? Tell Mom quickly." I quickly pulled Leo in front of me to check if he was hurt. After making sure he was okay, I hugged him tightly. Today, a very bad uncle wanted to give me a toy car. He said he was Mom's friend, so I ran away quickly and told the teacher to drive him away. Leo described it to me, lying on my shoulder. "You did the right thing, baby. So great. Even if he says he's Mom's friend, you can't trust him easily. If something happens, go to the teacher or call Mom with your little watch, okay?" I was terrified after hearing this and was extremely grateful for every reminder I had given him before. The next morning, Elias knocked on my door with toys and fruits. "Irene, can I have a look at the child?" Elias asked me carefully, looking nervous. "Yes, but please don't tell him you're his father. In his world, his father is already dead," I told Elias coldly. "Okay." Elias was stunned for a while, then lowered his eyes sadly and finally said one word. "Elias, if you had known this would happen, why did you act like that in the first place? You have to bear the consequences of your own actions." 3 years had passed, and the child was 3.5 years old. It was the first time for the father to come to see the child. I couldn't help but find it ridiculous, but I wouldn't stop them from meeting. Elias wanted to take Leo to the amusement park. Leo was very happy, and I agreed. Irene, can you come with us? When I was about to turn around and leave, the familiar address made me daze for a moment, only that there was more uneasiness now. I was stunned for a moment. Just as I was about to refuse, I saw the expectant look in Leo's eyes. My cold heart softened at that moment. Okay. I replied with difficulty. Mom, will that uncle come to play with me again? After getting home, Leo asked me hopefully. Was Leo happy today? I asked, a bit annoyed and still unwilling to give up. Happy, happy. Looking at the bouncing Leo, I felt a bit complicated. Perhaps there were really some things that a mother couldn't give. Leo likes that uncle. Then shall we play with him again another day? Leo, are you hungry? Mom will cook something delicious for you. I pinched Leo's cute little cheek affectionately. But this was as far as it would go for Elias. I'm hungry, Mom. I want to eat stir-fried pork. Leo said to me, excited and coquettish. I thought of that man who already had white hair even though he was only in his 30s, and I couldn't help but sigh. Well, the current result was the outcome of the path he chose for himself. The road of life is paved step by oneself, and one has to taste all the sweetness and bitterness on it. Some time ago, I was very surprised when I received a call from Arya. Perhaps out of guilt, she told me that Elias was very unhappy and begged me to let the child visit Elias occasionally. I didn't respond. There was a long silence on the other end, and then she hung up. Although I won't stop Elias from seeing the child, Elias can only be a passerby in my and Leo's lives. Later, I heard that Arya married a wealthy businessman in the local area who had once passionately pursued her. Elias, don't be so stupid. I've had enough of hard times and I can't keep following you. With your current ability, you can't give me what I want at all. Blame yourself for being so dumb that you left the marriage with nothing and gave all the property to your ex-wife. Arya, completely different from the dejected look when she got out of prison, said arrogantly and as if it were only right to Elias. Arya, what do you mean? Elias tightly grasped Arya's wrist with one hand. Before he could finish his hoarse question, he was punched in the face and staggered back a few steps in embarrassment. Honey, you're here. Arya pinched her throat and threw herself coquettishly into the man's arms. Mr. Elias, Arya is now my lawfully wedded wife. I don't want to see any irrelevant people pestering my wife again in the future, or you'll bear the consequences. The burly man warned Elias while holding Arya's waist. Compared with Elias's wretchedness, he was extremely arrogant. Elias looked at the gorgeously dressed Arya, feeling a pang of bitterness in his heart. Yes, it was his incompetence. Now he couldn't give her the wealth and luxury she desired. Elias stared at Arya with shocked and hurt eyes, his clenched fist never loosening. But his feet seemed to be filled with lead. He could only watch helplessly as Arya left intimately with another man. Later, Elias went to look for Arya more than once. But every time, he was severely beaten up by that man's subordinates and then driven out like a stray dog. And the first love he had guarded in his heart for so long never even spared him a glance. Later, Elias got sick. After all these years of turmoil, he finally had to lie in the hospital bed all day long. After an unknown period of time, Elias's body, which had no will to live, couldn't hold on much longer. Probably the only thing that could bring him a little vitality was his once wronged wife and child. Irene, please. Just bring the child to see Elias for the last time. I know this rascal has let you down, but he's suffered enough now. I've never asked you for anything. Just this once, okay? Elias's mother hoped that at least Leo could be by Elias's side during the last period of his life. She hoped he could make up for some regrets in his final days. Mom, who are we going to see? 6-year-old Leo asked me with his big, blinking eyes. I took Leo back to that familiar place early on a weekend morning. First, we visited my parents, and then we rushed to the hospital. We're going to see Dad, Leo's dad. I told him. On the way, I told him everything he could understand. Even though he was still young, I hoped his world would be open, sincere, and free from confusion. Is it that uncle? Leo looked at me with his clear eyes. Yes, you're so smart, baby. I smiled with some relief. It seemed that sometimes children were far more sensitive and intelligent than we thought. When we walked into the ward, we saw Elias lying quietly on the bed. His originally stern face had become gaunt and pale, looking much softer. His eyes were slightly open, not knowing where he was looking. He was so quiet, as if the world had nothing to do with him. Hello, Dad. Leo tightly held my hand and greeted Elias on the bed a little awkwardly. I didn't say anything, just found a place to put the things I had bought. Elias slowly turned his gaunt face, looking at us standing beside the bed in disbelief. Oh, Irene, Leo is here. Sit down and talk. I'll go wash some fruits for you. Elias's mother happened to come back and said enthusiastically. Auntie, you don't need to bother. We'll leave soon. I said politely and distantly. Okay, then you guys talk. Elias's mother stubbornly turned around to wash fruits for us. Her newly grown white hair and slightly hunched back looked rather sad. Dad, although we don't live together, you're still my dad. You're sick now, so you have to take your medicine obediently. I'll give you my mecha warrior. He will protect you. Get well soon. Leo said seriously with a small, straight face. Okay, thank you. Like a withered tree coming back to life, Elias's cloudy eyes were filled with tears. May I touch your hand? Elias said laboriously to Leo. Here. Leo stretched out actively his fair and tender little hand in front of Elias. Elias slowly held the little hand and gently stroked it, his eyes full of gratification, affection, and a bit of loneliness. His bony, big hand then slowly moved to Leo's little head, stroking it laboriously yet gently. Elias seemed to know that he didn't have much time left and wanted to engrave Leo's appearance deeply in his heart. During this time, Elias looked at me several times, his pale lips opening and closing. I didn't want to talk to him, so I just turned my head to the side. The moment we walked out of the hospital, I knew I had completely let go and felt an unprecedented sense of relief. What I didn't know was that after we left, Elias also felt extremely relieved and closed his eyes without any regrets. Not far away, Kian parked the car by the side of the road, waiting for us. But this time, I didn't walk towards him. To avoid unnecessary entanglement, I made a phone call to him. I expressed my gratitude for his many helps, but said that I wouldn't go with him this time. And we didn't need to go together in the future either. There was a moment of silence on the other side, and I hung up the phone first. I held Leo's little hand and walked slowly on the road. Mom, which way should we go? Leo looked up at me when he saw me standing still. Go straight. But the light is red over there. Then let's wait.